Hello, and thank you for joining us on this demonstration for YouTube. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
So we're really excited to bring this demonstration to you. Before we jump into the demonstration, we thought we'd just do a quick introduction and talk a little bit about why this demonstration exists. So, Dad, you decided to do this, and it's focusing just on the dog's muzzle. Why
Mhm.
did you decide to do this demonstration?
Well, this is one of the more difficult pictures that people have found. We've had an awful lot of dogs, but this particular one, the boxer, has been troublesome. So I thought, right, I'll do something simplistic, something that doesn't require too many pencils, and everybody will be able to do it. When you do a small part of the animal, you're not intimidated by the whole thing. And I've found that people have appreciated something as small as this. And it doesn't really matter. If you mess it up, you mess it up. If you mess a proper picture up, then it can be a little bit off-putting. But a small picture like this, don't have the pressure. And I think people will be able to do it.
Excellent, excellent. So, without further ado, let's roll on to the demonstration, and we'll see you at the end.
Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. This is another one of my demonstrations. We've had a lot of dogs, and I've done a few boxers, but I haven't tackled something quite like that before. So I thought it'd be rather nice to do a demonstration on that. I'm not necessarily going to do the eyes, I'm just going to do the snout and the nose, because again, this is another area that can be a bit dodgy occasionally. So I'm going to show you how I produce that. Now, before I actually do that, I'm going to do the surround here. Now, I'm not going to necessarily show you that. I might show you the end part of that. I'm not going to do the eyes, just around this area. And it gives me an opportunity then to set that snout, nose and mouth in the right setting. Otherwise, it would look a bit odd. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll bring it back, and then we'll tackle the difficult bits. Now, as you see, I've started the ball rolling. You can see the colour there, virtually the same colour there. It'll be a little richer, but we'll do that later. But what I'm going to do now is just do this surrounding area so that I've got something to work the muzzle and mouth and nose. So first of all, I'm going to put a bit of white in. And what we're doing is this bit here, okay? And I'll explain what I'm doing to this, and then I'll do it all the way around. You can see me continuing with it. Now, I'm not going to put too much white on here. All I want to do is just get a little base. There we are. Let's run up against, and we've got some more here, so let's put that in as well. I've left the graphite line here, as you can see, which is representing that. So that will give me a... You've got to be careful with graphite, because certainly with light colours, it will show through. But it can be very useful. Okay, now that will then now fade, and we'll be replacing that with a little bit more of my white and grey, but I'm leaving that line there so that I've got the edge of that, and I should do the same on the other side. Now, on top of that, we've got ivory. Now, this is a great colour, and this is the colour that is basically giving us this tone. This time, just a little more pressure. You see, here I was being light, here I'm being just a little bit more forceful. Once again, leaving that line so that I've got the detail already there. And that's got that in. And now the other colour which I'm using is this one. This is 187. Now, we don't need too much of it here, but we do need it up here. So let's start putting that in there. And we've also got this area under the eye. Now, when you look at that, you think it's a little too rich. But you'll see in a moment, when I use the colour shaper on it, that weakens. Now, the other thing is, in here, I'm going to put the 187 in that area like that. You can see I've almost got it there. And then that will fade away. And then we can use the colour shaper. Now I've got several colour shapers out. This is one I'm going to elect to use. I could use the greys, but the greys, I shall use that more for the snout because you're working on darker colours. Making sure that you don't have any contamination. And then we bring that up. Now you can see, if you look at that, and you look at this, this is darker. But it won't be, because we can reapply the ivory on it. Let's show you what I mean. Now we want to keep the darker line between the two. So we'll be a little bit more careful here, using the ivory. Maintaining that dark edge, which will have a darker colour as well, add to it. Now when we get down here, we change tone. So what I'm using here is another grey. Now this grey is 270. I've got another one ready here, and this is 233. This will be used mainly for this area, but the 270, you can see a very slight difference in tonal value between those two. That's bluey look, and this has got a more earthy look. Now you don't often find that you need both, and you could get away with the other one, but this one, as you will see, actually gives us the colour there. Now that's, I was saying to you about a heavy line. That's a little heavy, but you'll find that if we're careful, we can make that just a little lighter than that by using the grey. Then we can add just a little colour to there, and that will spread into there. But once again, we've got this line, so let's put that in. You don't want to lose these lines. They're very, very important when it comes to separating the tone. You see, what I'm doing now is very gentle. There's no hard pressure. Down here, and here we can bring that down just a little more. But it's begging now for another colour. But just before we do that, let's just blend that. The colour shaper is great for this because it pushes the colour into the paper. You can see we're getting close to that, but we're not right yet. Got a colour there. Now I'm going to put a little more of the 187 in there. And then I'm going to use this one. Now, what's this one called? 273, which is, again, another earth colour. So I'm going to put a bit of that in. Just put a little of that in to start with. And that gives a bit of a cushion for this rather dark colour I'm going to put in now. Colour shaper, and now you can see we're very, very close to the colour that I want. If you want to make it a little more, here we can put some strength in but there is another colour missing because we've got to put a darker colour in. There are in fact several colours you could use. I'm choosing to use this one, which is 283, which is one of my favourite colours, and that will give me this richness. Now I'm going to leave it there because I'm just going to carry on with all of the other areas here, because what I want to do now is get as quickly as I can. I want to get to do the most important part. So let me just do just a tiny bit more. A little bit of white now on there, just to lighten that up just a bit, and there. I'm not going into above that into the eye, or not at this time, but there's one thing we could do with that. Now we can come down with a darker colour. This one will probably work well. Now you've got to be careful. But you see how that now looks as close as that to it, but not quite close enough. So what I usually do now is use a little bit of use ivory or white, ivory I think. And if you've got one of these, it's a good idea to use it. Now what's this coal? This is very fine. You can see how, when you look at the pointed one, you can see how sharp that is. Well, that allows you then to go in between them like that. I'm doing this quite quickly, but it would normally take a little bit more time to do that. And here we've got a little dark, so let's finish this off. A little bit of grey here. And I might as well, while I'm here, just add another colour, which is a dark colour, which is 175. Is this one? It's very dark. It's going to look a little odd because normally I'd have done the eye as well before I do this, but you can see that we're getting the idea, and that would be blended as well, giving a depth that we want. And spread that a bit. Anyway, I'm going to do the rest of this side. No need to see me do it again. And then we will come back and I'll be ready to show you this area. And I'll come close there. Although it's nice to see that, I want to bring that a little bit more in focus. Now I've brought you nice and close. Now we're swapping over now. Here I've put, well, I'm showing up here. Let's show you what I've done here. Look. You'll see in a moment when I move back. I've started the ball rolling here, but I haven't finished it because now the grey is going to take over. So back up to here. Now just before I do that, there are certain areas that we're going to use the white where we want prominence. That noticeable. So put that in there. Okay, there's a few other areas here. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come down either side here, suggesting the kind of idea we've got there. Now, it's very hard to follow and do exactly the same. So you just, your impression really, and that can come right down to there. So by putting the white in, it gives you've got a sand colour pastel paper here, PastelMat is. That's the idea, and I'll do the same to the other side in a minute. Same thing applies up here. Now here I'm just going to use my eraser, because although I've got that indicated, it could show through. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that off, and then I'm going to put some white on. You see what I mean? Can you see that line there? Well, that's going to disappear because we're going to be putting darker greys on it. And the other the other thing is, I keep moving up there, thinking you're looking at that. I could have done that way, but I really wanted to show you close up because it's so important to see this as close as you can. A little bit in here as well. And just a smidgen in here, not a lot. As I say, it's just when you've got the dark greys going in here, you want to be a bit careful not to make it too dark. By putting that little bit of white on it, ensures you're going to, and I'm going to do the same the other side. And there's another area here, just here. Same idea. You'll see all that makes sense in a minute. Now we move over. This is the grey. This is 230 grey. Here we can come in with just a little bit more strength now. So we've got the white in. I'll do the same the other side. While I'm there, I'll do this too. This is when you've got, it's still light, but not as light as the white would indicate. Okay. Now, I'm also going to come in here, and this is like a forerunner of the darker colours I'm going to put in. Now, there's another area I'll show you in a minute. You've got to be a little bit careful with. You can just about make out here. In fact, if I draw them a little clearer so you can see what I'm looking at, like that. That's what we're looking at, these nostrils. I'm not worried about the graphite here because that's going to be covered. Now I can freely go in and put this in because it will show through that. I don't want to put it into the nostril itself. That's a very dark colour. There you go. Now there are places here where we've got a half and half. So here I would put in a little bit of the light grey. Same on the other side. But then we move over to that one now. That one, 233. Really, this is the most important colour because we're going to define the detail here. You'll probably remember if you've seen my work before, I usually use it for indicating pupils before I put black in. And the same applies here. For some reason, I've never quite worked out why, dogs' noses are really hard when you first start out. And come down here with that so that there we are. Now there's another area we've got here, same idea. This is going to have very dark colour on it, but you want to set the, there we are. Now there's another area here, and let me just show you. This is what I use when I use the, I'm not sure you saw me use the pencil, but I did. I went over here using a pencil just to give myself a little bit more detail. So now we've got a nose. Looks like one, doesn't it? Now I'm going to do this top part as well for you. Now this is where we've got to be subtle, because what we're doing now, I'm going to do this nose. I'm going to gently apply this Nothing too serious, nothing too strong, because I want it to retain its lightness. It will do because of the colours I put underneath here. Because when I put the dark colour on top of this in a minute, it's going to show up. Now you can see already we're beginning to lose that centre. And when that happens, what I would normally do is stop then, because I see something happening. So I think, next colour. Not that one. That one. Not that one. That one. Third time lucky, folks. 181, that's what I'm looking for. They all look the same to me now. That centre area there, on top of the previously put on 233, will give me the centre. Got it? And while I'm doing that, I might as well do this as well, as I don't want to lose it. I've got to sharpen that up, and then I can come into the nostril. But that's given me what I want. Now, from there, because I've got that division now, I can afford to put this there, because I can see. I'm not very clear there, Colin. I think I better make it a little stronger. There you go. Now I'll carry on the other side, off camera in a minute. And this is where we can come in using circular movement, bringing in the colour. Let's just show you here what I'm looking at. Look, that's what I'm looking at now. All right. Now, remember I said we've got that line. Well, that line continues there. It might pay us to use this to redraw the detail. And once again, carry on. I'll just do the top half because it's taken so much time up. But quite important to see it. Now, when I get down to here, I saw on the picture there was an area that had quite a lot of light in it. Now, I don't. If you were doing a picture for somebody, this is the kind of thing you'd have to pay attention to. Otherwise, the owner would say, "Oh, he did have a white there, a bit white on his snout, but you haven't done it." Well, so you've got to be careful. You can take certain liberties, but markings you've got to be careful with. I can't express to you how light I'm doing this, but it's still registering, isn't it? Now, when I get that far, I normally come back with the colour shaper, because I like to just blend it in to see how I'm doing. Doesn't look much, does it? But believe me, it will do when I finish it. That pushes the colour in, and I can now see what the next stage will be, which in fact is to come here. Those little bits of light I left, I'm leaving them. All of this area here is quite, it's still dark, but I've got a lighter tone to it, like that. It's not until you get down here where you get an obvious strength. So consequently, I'm putting a little more pressure on. Now here we've got a an area there. I think what I better do is come back and show you the original picture here, or the reference I'm doing. Otherwise you won't really understand what I'm up to. So let's pull back a little. We'll be able to see what I'm doing now. This is what I'm after. See, I'm trying to get that in. So I think what I'm going to do is actually draw it with my... roughly. Now, whilst I said you've got to be careful to represent the animal, you have, but these are the kind of things you can probably get away with. You're doing your own thing. Like that. And all of that has got to be filled up. And I think what I'll do now is I'll do the other side. So we can finish both sides off. What about all these little... well, we can put them in. Let's draw them with this. There's a mark there. Don't know what it is, but I'm going to put it in. A little bit of extra strength there. And all these little marks, I'm going to pop them in with this. As I say, I'm not going to be too fussy about here. As long as I've got them in, it just gives me an idea when I come to do the dark colour in a little while. It should be 181. There you go. You see we've got some light there. Well, I've still got it light, but I think it's a good idea just to re-establish some of that. It's going to show up more when I get the 181 in there in a minute. So I'm going to do the other side. Then when you come back, we'll start building the stronger tones up. Well, I've almost finished that now. Just this final little bit to do. Again, I don't fully understand this, but do what you see. Can't really go wrong. But you see what's happening now is I'm losing that edge. I'm do what I did up there. Use 181 just to define it like that, and do the same thing down here. And might as well do that at the same time. It's quite a strong... I'll show you how I can make that look a little bit more realistic in a minute. Okay, now back to filling it up. 233, remember. You've always got the option that you can come back with the white, you can come back with the grey, the light grey. And strictly speaking, it's white there, but it's not really white, it's a very light grey. So what we'll do, we'll sort that out in a minute. Blend it with it. Doesn't matter which colour shape you use. I'm going to use that pointed one, I think. I can find it. It's over here. As I say, it doesn't really matter. You can use this corner of one of them. The sharper one of these wouldn't be really good for much to do this with, because you need a little bit more area to work with. Right, that's got that. That's in place now. Still doesn't look very much, but it will do. Now what I've done now is I'm going to take the bull by the horns and start with the obvious. Put that in there. Now I'm going to use the pointed one, so I want to be a bit more exact here. You see, what I can also do with this is I can spread it a little bit so it doesn't look quite so hard. See, that's not quite right, is it? So we need to do a little bit more design there. Not much, just a spot. I think we can probably afford to be just a little higher there as well. There. And that gives me this sort of thing. It's all about adjustment. I've got that pretty good. Still got to be darkened a little more, but I'm quite happy with it. And this one. Now this time I'm going to come all the way along the top here. And do it being just a tiny bit more sharp than that. It's a little bit losing its point. Very unusual, that nostril. But once again, if you're following, you've got to do it. Where's my pointer in here? Now, once again, I've got to shape that a bit better than that. But I'm putting it in. One is slightly bigger than the other. But it is on there. There. Right. Now let's carry on. To sharpen that up, definitely have to sharpen it up now. In fact, I'll do it. I'll be back. I've got a nice sharp point now, so I'm going to finish this bit off. I'm using a colour shaper and doing a little bit at a time. Pushing this in, you can see we're getting very close to that. If I felt that we wanted to come out a bit, we can just readjust that slightly. Blend it. Cut in slightly on that. Say it was a slight bit too big. That's better. Now, quite important to get both nostrils as close as you can to each other. That's not bad. Come down a little stronger in that centre area. Another pencil doesn't need sharpening. Now, rather than using the 181, I'm going to use this just to make that just a little darker, ahead of using that 181. Now we can use it now, because I think we've got, that shape's not quite right though. You're going to come across this as well, folks, when you do your pictures. Constantly adapt. And now, I'll be careful now, it's a very dark colour, but you're not going to get away with it without putting that colour on. Very light. Wonderful PastelMat now, which is helping me, because the tooth is picking up that colour. You can see the result. That's almost perfect now. Make that just a little stronger. Come down there. And we'll do the same down here in a minute. So a little bit more depth on the outside of that, so we can put that in. And when you get there, to be honest, folks, I think you can probably call it a day. Now, coming down here, you'll see we've got a couple of light areas. Well, I'm going to put those, or reintroduce them. I did have them originally here with the light grey. And then we come back in with this one, same idea as that. We can use it for on the side. And you can't really distinguish the line here that I've got. So follow the idea, the same idea as that. And then we can come out and start picking up on some of these. When you become an emphasis like just there, it's a little bit more. We do have, though, I'll do this side and then I'll break off and show you the finishing touches. But you've got the idea now. This is how I would go about this. See, it's a very light touch. You don't want anything too strong. Another area here where you obviously have the line coming down there, and let's just show you how I would do that. Picking some of this in between colours up. Every now and again you can just put a little pressure on it so that you indicate the spots. And the other thing you can do there is if you use your flat colour shaper here and then come down and just soften it. I call this softening. You're not actually rubbing it too much, otherwise it'll all blend together. but you soften it. You get a really nice, you can see the effect I'm getting, dragging some of the colour away. Now, just here, there's two things we can do. We can either have that one, put a little bit light back, or another trick I found, you can, if you've got a colour shaper that's clean, you can actually take some of that off. See that? You don't put it on, you take it off. Then you can rub it with your finger, bring it clean again, and do the same again. Now that looks pretty good, and I think probably I would leave that and be satisfied with that. And do the other side, and then we'll put the finishing touches to it. Yeah, we're nearly finished now. I've just got this last little bit to do. Holding the pencil like this, so we've got minimum pressure on it. It allows you to play with it a little bit. Very often you do something like this, you think that looks a bit odd, but you're following a picture and photographic reference anyway, and as long as you're following it, you can't be accused of making it up. Well, that's almost there now. Once again, this area here, difficult to tell where it actually starts and where it finishes. So I usually do something like that, which fogs it a bit. No colour shaper. What I normally do, something like this, I dab it. I don't blend it. I push it together. That's pretty good. Could probably do with a tiny bit of lightness put back in. When you're working with grey on grey, you can get away with this. This is a funny one. It comes from here, comes all the way up. Not quite to the mouth, but nearly. There you go. And again, soften it. Well, there we are. My boxer. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been good fun. It does look a bit odd when you don't have any eyes on him, but the whole idea was to try to show you how you can put something like this together. And you can always fiddle. I usually just touch it up afterwards. Just make it a little bit more presentable, like that. And we call it a day. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on another dem very, very soon. Bye for now.
So that is the end of this demonstration. I hope you've really enjoyed watching Dad recreate this boxer's dog muzzle. Very interesting to see just how the pastel pencils can create those textures, and that detail is absolutely remarkable, Dad. No doubt not the last demonstration you're going to do for us on YouTube.
No, I shall do lots more. And I think you'll see from this demonstration that you don't have the pressure. There's no pressure on you at all. And I think to relax and enjoy it is the most important thing. And you'll be surprised what you can achieve.
Excellent. If anyone's got anything that they'd like us or like you to demonstrate on YouTube, then just drop them in the comments below. We'd love to take your requests and do more demonstrations. But for now, we'll leave it there. So thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye.